Hello, everybody. This is Edwin for Strictly Comics, and we are here with Sam De La Rosa. He is a inker and a penciler. He's done inking for Marvel, DC, and right now, we'll get into what you're working on in a little bit. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, as far as take us back a little bit, because one of the things I did see was that you actually worked on the first Star Wars for Marvel back in the day.
I did, yeah. I started in 1982 working in comics. I started both at DC, first at DC, and that same year I went over to Marvel. At DC I did World's Finest, I did Action Comics, I did Green Lantern for them. Very same year I went to Marvel, I worked on Spider-Woman, and then from there I did some What If stories and many other titles for them starting in that year.
Now, as you know, Disney purchased the rights to Lucasfilms, and now Star Wars is actually coming back to Marvel. What do you think about that?
Well, I really enjoyed working on the Marvel comics, back in the 80s. I got to do a handful of issues. I love the characters, I love the movies, so I think it's pretty exciting for Marvel to have that franchise now.
Okay. Why don't you tell some of the viewers some of the stuff that you've worked on, maybe some highlights, what's your favorite, just so that maybe they can familiarize themselves with your work, because I'm familiar with it, as you can see in the back. Probably one of your most notable pieces because of the popularity of the character Venom. But if you could just give us maybe some of your favorites or some of your highlights.
Sure. Well, I started in 1982. I worked for Marvel and DC, but then I also worked for a whole lot of other companies. Some of them are not around. I worked for Archie Red Circle. They had a whole bunch of superheroes, The Shield, and I worked on that. And I even worked for Disney on Roger Rabbit. I did a Popeye comic, The Wedding of Popeye and Olive. I did Earthworm Jim, Power Rangers, just a whole assortment of stuff. But people are most familiar with my stuff due to the popularity of some of the Spider-Man comic books I've gotten to work on. That includes Venom, Lethal Protector. The first time Venom ever got his own comic book, I got to work on that. Venom Separation Anxiety. They made a video game out of that. I worked on the conclusion of the Maximum Carnage storyline. So they made another video game out of that, so people know me from those series. And then a whole lot of miscellaneous Spider-Man titles. I've worked in Amazing Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Just Spider-Man, so along with a whole lot of other miniseries. So people associate my name with Spider-Man if they bought comics in the 80s and 90s.
So, so kind of your artistic identity is just associated with Spider-Man quite a bit.
Yeah, and I like that because growing up as a little kid, that is the first comic book I picked up and kept reading, and that is my favorite character, Spider-Man.
That is your favorite character?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, yeah, I was going to ask you what your favorite character was. Spider-Man is mine as well. So what are your thoughts as far as, there's been a lot of mixed reviews as far as the Spider-Man 3 with Venom, and, a lot of the comic fans wasn't too thrilled about it. Yeah. What is your take on it?
I did see that last movie, and, movies are different from comic books. They may go in another direction, but Venom was totally out of character, and I think that's what took people aback from that last movie. Venom is a big character. Eddie Brock was a bodybuilder, so he's a big guy, and the actor they used there was a little slim, and the visual on Venom was not even close to the comic book version. So I was glad to see Venom on the screen, but disappointed that it was so far away from the comic book series. But the latest Spider-Man movie, I think they've captured better the whole essence of Spider-Man.
I think I agree with that. I think visually, his costume, everything, it was a lot better than the first three. One of the questions I have is, they're coming out with a Venom movie, so we're told. Do you think that's going to help out comic book sales as far as Venom, the character?
Yeah, Venom has been very popular. He's been around for a quarter of a decade. People don't realize that, but he's been around for quite some time. And I think his popularity will just keep on growing. So I've also heard the rumors of Venom, being in a movie. as you know, the last Spider-Man movie, it implied that the Sinister Six were next because you saw glimpses of those characters. But I'd really like to see Venom done right in a future Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. So, do you have anything that you're working on right now or in the upcoming future that you could maybe plug yourself, give yourself a little plug and let us know what you're going to be doing?
Sure. Well, I've recently done a cover for El Paso Hero. He's a character that deals with border issues, and he has been created and published by Hector Rodriguez here in the state of Texas. So I've gotten a whole lot of press, including nationwide press, on my cover for that. So that was kind of nice. And it's a project that I think is entertaining and I believe in. So I recommend that to people. If they get a chance, just Google El Paso Hero and see what you think of it. I think the stories are interesting and they deal with current border issues. Another thing I'd like people to know is they can find me on Facebook. Just put in Sam De La Rosa. Also, I have a website, samdelorosa.com. So I'm real easy to find. I'm retired now, so I just do shows. I do 2 or 3 conventions, usually in Texas. I go out of state a little bit, but not very far. So I'm at all the big conventions in the state of Texas.
Okay, and we'll definitely leave links below for Sam's websites, his Facebook page. You got any Instagram, Twitter, anything?
No, I don't do that. I just recently have been on Facebook. I've been on Facebook the past year. And it's been a whole lot of fun because people get to contribute on that. They get to comment. I put up posts and they put up pictures, and it's just been an entertaining way to get the word out on me and have people involved with me.
Okay. Last question. As far as penciling and inking, is the flow of either one different from the other? Do you have a preference between one or the other, or how does that go for you?
Well, I started out, my first assignment was just inking. I inked a story pencil by Alex Saviot, who is the artist on the Amazing Spider-Man newspaper Sunday strip. So I started there. But the very next assignment I got after that was World's Finest, which had Batman and Superman, and that I got the pencil over layouts by Rich Buckler. So Rich Buckler laid out the story very nicely, so I was able to do a little bit of penciling and then finishing with the inks. When I get an assignment of layouts or finishing artwork, I'm a bit more involved and it takes more time because I have to do a bit of penciling before I finish with the inking. But I also enjoy just inking, just collaborating with other pencil artists. Work with Jim Starlin that I like a whole lot. He produced some of the memorable comics in the 70s with Warlock. And I've inked a little bit of John Romita Sr. and just a whole lot of artists that I've gotten to work with. Greg Capullo, way before his run on Batman, now I got to work with him. And many other artists that I got to collaborate. So I'm happy to have done that.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Joe, and I guess he's inked over 2,000 different pencilers or something like that. Do you come close to that at all?
No, I know. Joseph Rubenstein holds the Guinness World Book of Records for that. Yeah. I'm far away from that, but I enjoyed working with a variety of people in many comic book companies.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sam, for this interview, and thanks for coming to ComicPalooza. I know I see you here often here in Texas, but
I'll be back.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.